Afternoon, everyone. I'm Lucinda Godfrey, the CEO at the Dundee Carers Centre, and I'm absolutely delighted to be able to spend some time with you to give you a sense of what we're doing currently at the Carers Centre and also some insight into our future plans as we start to try and expand that offer that we have available to you. I'm really delighted this morning to be joined by two of my colleagues at the Carers Centre. And we have Sarah Boath from the Care Services team, who is our team manager, who will be chatting to us today about care services and what will be happening next over the coming weeks. I will also be... Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm fine. How's you?
Yes, good, thanks. And I'll also be joined this morning by Stacey Clarke, who is the team manager for the communications and quality team. Hi, Stacey.
Hi.
And Stacey will be telling us about how we've been communicating with you, the information we've provided, but also how we continue to do that as things start to open up over the coming months. So I just wanted to start this morning really by acknowledging how important our relationships and connections are at the Care Centre. It's at the absolute core and heart of everything that we do. And of course, in the current situation, that becomes increasingly difficult because, as you know, the Care Centre is just a hive of activity. And in any day, we can have groups, drop-ins, people coming and going. And it's what also makes it a great place to work. And there's never a dull moment, and we get the opportunity to spend a lot of time with you having those conversations. And we are just having to try and find different and creative ways to make sure that we continue to keep those relationships and connections as strong as we possibly can. But of course, the situation that we're in is limiting that somehow, some cases. But by working together, listening to each other, and keeping each other safe, we will do what we can to be as creative as possible so that we keep these things going. Now, of course, in March, when we all went into lockdown, which now actually feels like a lifetime ago, our immediate priorities were focusing on making sure you had support and also responding to the new challenges that presented you in COVID-19. And I think we did that quickly. We moved to telephone support. We were able to offer then video calls and group support online. And we also had the opportunity to try out some new things that we hadn't done before, like shopping cards and access to PPE. And we also knew how important it was to make sure that you had really up-to-date information about what was going on in Dundee, in the Care Centre, but also nationally in terms of COVID-19. The last few months, we've been able to scale that up a bit. So we've been doing some face-to-face support on a one-to-one basis. And we do have plans to expand that over the coming weeks in regards to our working schools and also being able to offer group face-to-face support. Our position will still be that if you're receiving remote support and through some of the different delivery methods I mentioned earlier, and that's working for you, then that will continue to be the case. As some of these things open up, they will be done in a small scale, slow way, so that we make sure that we've got everything right to be able to do it more often and in more places. In terms of our group support, attending these groups will be exempt from the household rules. And we're also very aware of people's anxieties around going to different activities. And I wanted to give you that reassurance this afternoon that we are doing everything possible to make sure that our activities and services are as safe as they possibly can be. And before you take part in any of these activities, our workers will have a conversation with you about that and tell you more about it. And you'll have the opportunity to ask any questions or talk about any concerns that you might have. And Sarah will also tell us a bit more about that later on. We continue to review all of our services in terms of how they're delivered, whether it's short breaks or our support for SDS. At the minute, a lot of our face-to-face support is in our carers services. So as I said, Sarah will give us an update on that. In terms of the office and the Seagate, and as I said earlier, we're all missing that contact with each other, and we certainly miss it with you, and I'm sure you do with each other. So we want to try and at least get some of that back over the coming weeks and months. So we're aiming to have a small group of staff working in the offices doing essential work towards the end of October. And shortly after that, we'd like to see the Seagate being open for appointments only in the first instance. I wish I could give you a timescale today on when the Seagate would be open to the public, but that is just something we will have to continue to review and think about in terms of where we are, but also in terms of what else is going on around us in terms of the pandemic. And I'm sure you can appreciate it changes quite a lot. So making these decisions too far ahead can be quite difficult. But we do have plans to keep you fully updated in how things are opening up and unfolding in the centre. And Stacey, who's here from the communications team, will be giving us some insight into that as well. One of the things that's critical in our business anyway, but becomes even more important, I think, during times like these, is that we're hearing as much as we can from you about the impact that this is having on you and your families. And we know that that's substantial, but we want to understand more about that and also think about what else do we need to do. So we've been working with our partners and other voluntary organisations in the Health and Social Care Partnership and also in Dundee City Council. And we have just yesterday launched a new consultation phase that we're going into to try and do exactly that. Hear from you how this has impacted, what you think would be helpful going forward, and then we can think about how we do that, how we all work together to do that. The survey is available on Dundee Carers of Dundee website, and hopefully there will be a link there for you. I would really encourage as many of you as possible if you can complete the survey, and that's really helpful for us. And I know at the centre the teams are working hard to make sure that we have that constant listening opportunity to hear from you as we move through this, as I say, quite fast-paced, changing environment that we're in. I just wanted to finish off this afternoon before bringing on our guests to say as well that, you know, this pandemic is teaching us new things every day. And some of those have been really positive, certainly in terms of how we operate as an organisation. And I suspect some of those things will be here to stay in the longer term. And I think have improved the offer we'll be able to give when, of course, we see us being able to do more and more face-to-face work as well. So I hope that's given you some idea of where we're going as an organisation. And of course, if you've got other questions, please put them in the place you're meant to put them, and we will pick them up at the end whenever we've heard from Sarah and Stacey as well. So I'd just like to bring on Sarah Boath, who's going to give us some insight into what the care services team are currently doing and what types of opportunities they've been providing for carers and young carers.
Okay, thanks, Lucinda. We've been really busy, as always. I think we've always been a busy team, and it has been a different kind of busy since March. I was looking back before we came onto this call, and we are still supporting the same number of carers of all ages every month that we were previously. So the numbers of carers receiving support have remained the same month to month that they did before the COVID pandemic came in. So that's around about 300 carers every month getting support.
Fantastic.
Right at the beginning, that obviously was mostly telephone support. And as you mentioned in your comments earlier, that support was maybe a bit different. It was maybe more ad hoc. It was maybe more around how do we get supermarket deliveries and that things that we developed in response to needs identified by carers, like the young carer shopping card and the adult carer shopping card came from that support. So we've continued to try and be as responsive to people's needs as possible. Obviously, it was mainly one-to-one support that we were able to provide, and we have been doing that via telephone and text the whole way through. We were able very quickly to get online to provide video call support with our help from our colleagues in health and social care, and a significant number of carers have taken advantage of that. And I think that is, again, as you say, something we've learned from and something we'll continue to provide as an opportunity even in the future when we're able to get back to more face-to-face support for people. We recognise carers are busy, you've got lots on, and that's been a really valuable way via telephone and video call to maintain that one-to-one support. And I'm really pleased that since the beginning of August, we have also been able to provide one-to-one support face-to-face for carers, as you mentioned, where people are able to receive that support virtually, and that's been working for them. Then we have not offered that face-to-face support. So face-to-face support is not a universal offer. We're making judgments based on the needs of carers, the situations that people are in, how they've been able to engage in support virtually if that's not been possible. And so everything that we do is on a needs-led basis, and this is as well. And I'm sure people can understand that the time and effort it takes now in terms of preparing for one-to-one support is a bit more with all the COVID agreements and arrangements in place. But in August alone, which was the first full month that we did that, we provided face-to-face one-to-one support opportunities for 40 individual carers. So that was great to be able to do, and the feedback from people has been great. In fact, for some people who were referred during COVID, it was the very first time they'd met the worker that had been providing support to them for a number of months. So that was absolutely fantastic. In terms, and that is, I just would like to say at this point, our one-to-one support face-to-face is outdoors only, but we are working towards being able to provide that indoors as well, because if you're looking out at the same weather that I'm looking out at, there's only so long we're going to be able to be comfortable providing support outdoors. Although it has been great for our workers based in localities to be doing that face-to-face support outdoors on walks. They're telling me they're getting to know the locality so much better by actually walking around with carers who know it really well. Our group opportunities took a bit longer to get started because we had to get the right platform in place, and we wanted to make sure, as you were saying before, that the platform that we were using was something that we would use long term, and it wasn't just an ad hoc quick fix. So we use Google Classroom and Google Meet to provide group opportunities for carers, and we had that in place for the summer programme. So our whole summer programme for young carers took place online. There was virtual escape rooms, there was quizzes, there was all sorts. I ended up helping with an arts and crafts activity, and we all get to know it better in a kind of COVID situation when we're all working from home, because I got to meet one of our young carers' pet giant African snails that she keeps in her living room. Part of it. So we've been able to provide people, so the arts and crafts activities, for example, we got additional funding. We were able to provide everybody with the same materials and resources. They were delivered to people's homes, and then virtually we took part in that group activity all together online. So it was a bit different to what we might otherwise have done, but it worked really well. And we've provided transition opportunities for young adult carers. We've provided volunteer training online. So if you haven't tried an online group and you think it's not for you, I would say just give it a go, have a try. You and I, Lucinda, haven't had much of a choice really in having to learn these different platforms. but it's actually been a real benefit. So if you're not sure about it, I would say just give it a go. We've got a full learning and training programme that will be published between now and December, and a lot of that will be available online via the online platforms. And it's convenient. You don't have to leave the house. You don't have to go out in the rain to come and meet with us and meet other carers in a similar position to yourselves. So that's where we are. And also we've been developing e-learning modules as well, the first one of which was launched just this week. So that's where we are just now, I suppose, is kind of snapshot.
So not much has been happening then, really, Sarah, has it?
No, it's just same old, same old.
I think, though, as well, just to say from my point of view, all of the staff at the centre have worked very well, very quickly, adapted very quickly. And as Sarah said, we've all had to learn a lot of new skills, and I've even surprised myself some of the things I've been able to do. So please, as Sarah said, do take up as many of these opportunities as you're able to connect with other people, and the team will certainly do what they can to assist with that. Sarah, could you maybe tell us a bit about what you're planning next and how carers are responding to some of the things that we're doing?
Yeah, so while we're really pleased with the online engagement offer through video calls and group support, we are aware that there are some things that you just can't do online. There are some things that really need to be done face-to-face. Some people are in particular situations where it's difficult to engage online. You might be in a house where it's difficult to find a private space to have a phone call or a video call, and therefore it really is important to be able to talk to somebody face-to-face. Your situation may also have escalated and you may be having to go to more formal meetings for care or other things, and you want that worker to be able to be there with you as we normally would. So we wanted to make sure we were providing the right support to the people who really, really needed it. So we've done quite a lot of work as we're already providing one-to-one support face-to-face outdoors. In order to be able to provide that support indoors, we have to have appropriate venues to be able to do that, and we need to make sure that those venues are safe. So Lucinda mentioned that the Seagate will be open for appointments, so we will be using that space for appointments to meet with yourselves. However, in our team over the past year, we spent a lot of time focusing on coming out to your locality, your community, and meeting you where you are. And I think that's really important in the current situation that we're in. You might not have a lot of time to travel to the city centre, or you might not be comfortable in travelling longer distances. So we need to make sure we've got venues in the locality. And so we are working hard, the team are working hard, identifying suitable spaces close to you which we can use to provide one-to-one support. We're making sure they know our risk assessments and procedures, that we know theirs, that everyone's happy, and the test and protect systems work well, so that you can feel safe and comfortable that whatever venue you're coming to meet us in is a safe and secure venue, and it's meeting all the relevant standards in order to do that. As well as that, that means we would be looking to provide the support in schools that we would normally provide. Some young carers, that's the best place for them to access support, and we have developed really strong working relationships with the schools over the past number of years. So myself and the team have been meeting with all the high schools over the past few weeks and a number of the primary schools, and we hope that everything will therefore be in place that after the October holidays, for those young carers, again, it'll be those young carers that can't engage in remote support, because we've got a lot of young carers who have engaged really well in remote support, but for those who that's not been possible for, we will be able to provide support in schools after the October holiday, which has been absolutely fantastic. And our young carer ambassadors who are in those schools have been working hard, keeping the profile high in our absence, making sure all the notice boards are up to date. I was hearing about Brave You Academy yesterday, and our 2 new young carer ambassadors who just completed the training over this summer have already got the notice boards all sorted before the workers even back in school in October. So that's been absolutely fantastic. The other thing we are looking to get up to speed is our groups, providing group support face-to-face. We again will be prioritising those groups. That's really important. for face-to-face delivery. So some of that will be around supporting your mental health and well-being. That's particularly important at that time, that peer support opportunity, if for whatever reason it's not possible to engage online, or the subject matter is such that it feels too much to engage with remotely. You don't feel comfortable sharing that unless you're in person. So we're working hard on updating our procedures that we have and COVID agreement. For those of you that have had face-to-face support, know that we go through additional information, not a huge amount, it's just additional information on top of the usual consent information that we would look for people, but we're taking into account all the COVID additional considerations as well, making sure people are making an informed decision about coming to support or coming to a group, and that we are making an informed decision about the safety and well-being of everybody else within those groups. So that will be finalised, and hopefully after the October school holidays again, we will be in a position to be able to provide adult groups within localities. Most groups previously you would have had to pre-book to attend. That's going to be an essential from now on. We won't be able to have groups that are just drop-in. For our safety, for your safety, for being able to provide the information we are required to do for Test and Protect, we'll just need to make sure that everybody pre-books. But your worker will give you all the details of that in advance and talk you through the process.
That's great. Thank you, Sarah. That was very helpful, and I hope people who are listening today or who watch it later get a good sense of what is coming up and how we're starting to open those services out to people. So thank you. That was very helpful.
Thank you.
So we'll bring on now Stacey Clarke, who is the team manager for the communications and quality team. Afternoon, Stacey.
Afternoon.
So Stacey, can you just start by giving us a sense of, well, first of all, the communications team have been very busy as well over the last wee while, considering that most of our work has moved online and virtually. So can you just give us a sense of the work of your team and how we can provide that information for people who access the centre?
Yeah, sure. Well, obviously, when we came into lockdown, the focus was really on making sure that we could still communicate and engage with people. So obviously that had to be done online, and it was making sure that was done safely more than anything else. So we accessed systems that enabled us to do that. So that was mainly around Attend Anywhere, and we also accessed Google Meet and Google Platforms, as Sarah said, just to allow us to be able to provide not only telephone support but also video support to people. But it was key that people were able to use those platforms safely and also easily, so it wasn't an extra barrier for people when they were communicating with people accessing our services. And obviously everything that we're doing in terms of communicating messages and relaying information has been done mainly through our websites, so both Carers of Dundee.org and www.dundeecarerscentre.org.uk. We had to make sure that basically our information was clear, consistent and up to date. So as we came into lockdown, it was extremely important that people get the information they needed. We set up a dedicated COVID-19 page on the Carers of Dundee website. I'm sure that information will be getting put along the bottom of the screen so people can see the website address as well. Just to make sure that when information is coming out, that we could put that on the website, that we could access. It was quite clear. There was so much information at that time that was coming out because there was just trying to keep that in one place to make it easy for people. Was a huge amount of work that the team were involved in. Developing ways of getting our information out included the Carers of Dundee e-newsletter, which is coming out on a fortnightly basis just now. So it's got information about not only what we do, but also other organisations and partners and agencies across the city in terms of support to carers and their families and other professionals. We've had a massive increase in reach across our social media channels over the past 6 months or so. So we put our information out regularly via Facebook, via Twitter, Instagram. We have obviously helped set up and broadcast these virtual hubs, which were running weekly to begin with, but now have moved to fortnightly. And that allows not only us, but also our partners to be able to tell people about what we're doing. and how we're doing it. Accessibility has been a big thing. So the Carers of Dundee newsletter, we've also been producing in an audio version and also an easy read version and a large print version. And we continue to do that so we can try and reach as many people as possible. Obviously, just help making sure that staff who are speaking to people accessing our services on an ongoing basis have the information that they need has been vital as well. Our reception lines are always open. We constantly remind people via social media that that's the case, and that we're still here to support people, and our services are still open. So lots of things have been happening over the past 6-7 months, just to make sure that people are still able to communicate with us and still are able to access information as and when they need it.
Stacey, I did reference briefly in my introduction that there are definitely some positive things that have come out of this pandemic, and the engagement online on social media must be music to your staff's ears.
Well, we have been banging the digital drum for a long time now, and that's certainly made it easier over the past 6 months or so. So absolutely, it's allowed us to not only develop what we're doing, but also enabling us to, I guess, build confidence in both our staff and people that are accessing our services, that there's alternative ways to communicate with people that don't always have to be done face to face. And certainly that we will continue to do that. As and when face-to-face and group activities start to come back into the mix more. Certainly nothing that's going to be going away, but yeah, absolutely. It's I think anybody who works in the digital world has certainly been encouraged by the fact that most of our activity and most of people's information is now accessed online at the moment. So yeah.
And is there anything coming up, Stacey, that you want to share? Obviously, I referenced earlier that we're going to be giving people more regular updates in terms of how activities start to open up, etc.
Yeah, well, I think that's key. I think it's making sure that we're giving regular updates, that they're clear and consistent, the messages that we're sending out. We'll respond and send those messages out as and when we know them. Then we'll get those messages out to people via our normal channels. Making sure that our website is up to date and the Carers of Dundee website up to date has been paramount and will continue to be so. One thing that we're obviously aware of is that we're not producing any printed information just now. So we have a regular Carers of Dundee newsletter that goes out in a printed format, normally 4 times a year, but that's not been happening over the past 6 or 7 months. So hopefully, depending on what happens over the next few months, we will hopefully manage to get an edition of that designed and printed and sent out to people, because we're conscious that not everyone is accessing information online, that there's still very much a need for printed information for people. So hopefully we will be able to do that. At the moment, we're still going to be doing that online and also via our partners and via staff getting that information out as to what's happening, when, things that might be opening up, or services that are available. So we'll continue to do that. We've also got plans for some short videos to reassure people that are coming into the Seagate or accessing services about what steps and measures we put in place to make people feel safe and confident that what we need to be doing, we are doing for when they come back into Seagate. And also for staff that are working in communities, we're looking to put together a short video with some of our staff just to reassure people that steps and measures have been taken as well for when they're meeting with staff out with Seagate and in community settings, that we're, that that's going to be safe to do so. As Sarah said, we've also got a What's On in the pipeline, so we'll be sending out some information over the next few months about activities and online groups and training and courses and things that we're doing. So yeah, lots of things planned for the future. A lot of it will just be reacting to what changes or restrictions are lifted and what we're doing in the centre, but we'll certainly be doing that on a regular basis to make sure that people have the information that they need.
That's brilliant, Stacey. Thank you very much, and very useful information there for people, including where you can get those regular information updates as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to bring Sarah back on, and we're going to see if there are any questions or comments that people might have. I think they'll just appear on the screen, and then we will try and respond as best as we can. So the first question we've got is, well, when will drop-in cafes be starting back again? Sarah, do you want to start with that?
I have no dates, but what we're trying to do with all the different activities and groups that we ran pre-lockdown, we're thinking carefully about what needs were we trying to meet. So what did carers value about the drop-in cafes? What was useful to them? And while, as I said earlier, we can't provide opportunities at the moment that are drop-in, we can certainly look and see at, because in the drop-in cafes, people used to get in, for those who haven't been before, we would have other agencies along who were of interest to carers to give information, to chat to people informally, so that they could find out about other opportunities that were available. There was a peer support element to that as well. And then there was also an opportunity for people to have tasters of therapies and different things. So our working group, led by Sophia, who led and organised the drop-in cafes before lockdown, are meeting just now to look and see at what alternatives we can provide that allow people to get taster sessions of therapies that would allow people to meet and get peer support. And the virtual hubs themselves actually came from our first meeting about drop-in cafes to say, how do we get the information out to people from other agencies, as well as ourselves, that we would normally do via the drop-in cafe? So although this does not feel like a drop-in cafe at all, the original idea actually came from us trying to work out an alternative way to get that information out to people. What I would say is, if you did value the drop-in cafes and you'd like, or any of our other groups, and are keen to see them back up and running, please get in touch with the centre, get in touch with your worker, let us know what you really got out of those groups, so that allows us to plan for how we do that safely now that we have the different measures in place now, and get involved and help us out. That would be fab.
Thanks, Sarah. And I think there's something you said there as well about how we figured this out together, because carers will know what will work for them, and we can work together to see what is possible. And that's how a lot of the things have evolved over the last wee while, things like the shopping cards and things. So it is really important that people do that. You know, I'm sure Stacey would love all these ideas on Facebook. So if you use things like that, then please, you know, if something pops into your head, let us know what it is, because we're keen to try and do whatever we can in the current situation. Do we have any other questions? I'm thinking that's maybe a no, but that's a lot of information for people to take in one afternoon. So don't think that means you can't ask us any questions ever again, because you know who we are. You know you can pick up the phone or send a message via what means you like, and we'll be happy to have a conversation with you or take any more questions that you have. So I'd like to thank Stacey and Sarah, who I think have given brilliant information this morning to you all in terms of what we've all been doing and working to support you and your families during this time. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us. We hope that's been helpful, and we will come back again in maybe 4 or 5 weeks' time with a further update on where we're at with things and what else we're hoping to open up as we go. Remember as well to keep an eye on those websites, the Carers of Dundee website, the Centre's website, and the social media too. And hopefully you'll be able to join the next hub. I'm sure that will be as popular as the rest have been. So thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.